Totaling up and becoming the wettest month in history. And we'll show you what city that is in just a moment. First, the latest on the tropics. The Atlantic basin leads things off. And in the Atlantic, it is very tranquil at this time, mainly due to abnormally strong upper-level westerly winds, those shearing winds. Well, they typically come south this time of the year as we head through the fall season, but they are on average not quite this far south or this strong so early in the fall season. In any event, as the tropical waves move off the African continent, they are encountering the southwesterly wind shear in here. So this little disturbance here looks fairly impressive, but as it heads west, it's going to enter an area that's unfavorable for any additional organization. Same story, mid-Atlantic, mid-tropical South Atlantic. Look at the upper cloud elements moving briskly west to east, an unfavorable scenario for tropical organization, though a bit favorable for thunderstorm development. And that's what's been happening in the islands the last 24 hours. Pockets of squally thunderstorm activity with gusty winds and locally heavy rainfall from Grenada and Guadeloupe up towards Antigua and parts of the Virgin Islands too, and that will be the story again today. Clusters of storms with those blustery, heavy rain conditions and a little bit of lightning mixed in too. Next tropical wave is in the western and southern Caribbean. Again, this disturbance being influenced by stronger winds aloft, and at the moment, conditions are not favorable for further organization. Down the road a bit, well, the upper level winds may let up somewhat. That would make it more favorable for organization. But even if something were to organize here in the Caribbean and move to the northwest, our computer charts in the long range suggest stiff westerlies coming down into the Gulf of Mexico with time as a dip in the jet stream develops over the eastern United States. So even if something were to develop here and move north, probably would encounter those winds and head right back out to sea. So that's one possible scenario in the next week or so. The Gulf of Mexico at this time, very tranquil. So it's really the eastern Pacific where the main action is. And at the moment we have two hurricanes. This is Lester and this is Madeline. Let's begin with the strongest of the two hurricanes. Lester at 14.2 north, 100.8 west, about 235 miles south of Zihuatanejo, Mexico. Top sustained winds are 100 and the movement is west at 9, and that is taking Lester out to sea. So the Mexican government has discontinued the hurricane warnings and now just a hurricane watch for the Mexican coast from Acapulco to the northwest. Additional watches and warnings, Mexican coastline, southern tip of Baja due to Hurricane Madeline with 85-mile-per-hour sustained winds at 21.9 north and 106.5 west. The pressure 980 millibars. In the western Pacific, now we have the new typhoon. It's Babs off the coast, east coast of the Philippine Islands. It's moving slowly northwest and may impact an area that was just devastated by super typhoon Zeb not more than a few days ago. So there could be some additional disastrous flooding in the Philippines, particularly the island of Luzon. Back to the States, still wet in Texas, but it's not as wet as it was this time yesterday. The fronts weakened a bit, the moisture not quite as evident, although more rain continues. In the northeast, fast-moving front. There's been a little rain overnight, and on radar, there are still a few pockets of light rain out over the Cape, especially near Provincetown and down near Chatham. Again, it's moving briskly out to sea. 64 in Boston, 66 New York City, mid-70s in New Orleans. It's partly cloudy in the southeast. It's still cloudy and wet over Texas, and the satellite picture confirms that we have still some heavy cloud cover in this region and some rain now over Tennessee, Mississippi, and parts of Louisiana. Back in Texas, conditions continue to be rather soggy. South Texas. Flood watches are in effect, and record rainfall for San Antonio.
People in flood-ravaged parts of Texas begin assessing the damage. Will skies clear for the cleanup? We'll check conditions there and nationwide next on Weather Center.
This program was sponsored by Touchstone Energy. We are America's electric cooperatives.
Partnership means growth. That's the way it's been for America's electric co-ops and America's businesses and communities. We've always kept affordable power flowing steadily and reliably. Now, we're joining other local co-ops to form a nationwide alliance, Touchstone Energy, to ensure state-of-the-art technology and personalized service. It's the power of human connections. We are America's electric cooperatives.
I'm Arthur Bromer, the travel writer, and I am filming this report on October 4, 1998 in San Juan. I have toured the major resort hotels, and most are in full operation. Their restaurants, their beaches, their swimming pool, everything. I don't mean to minimize the effects of Hurricane George, but tourism is alive and well on the U.S. island of Puerto Rico.
Call your travel agent or American Airlines Vacations now.
It says here, people claim moving day is one of the most stressful events in the world.
We have very heavy rains throughout Texas with a big problem with flooding, and we will detail all of that coming up in just a few moments. But first, we're going to start off the Storm Watch segment with a look at our tropical update. We are still seeing a flare-up of clouds and thunderstorms here in the Caribbean. Zooming in closer, you can see those clusters of storms with a broad area of low pressure. An upper-level low here was helping to enhance some of the unorganized shower and thunderstorm activity yesterday. As that pushes off to the east, a ridge is building here over the Caribbean, so we could see some development here. However, on down the road over the next several days, we are seeing some of the forecast models put a very strong trough into the Gulf of Mexico. That would be bringing some very hostile upper-level winds over the area, so the timing may be just a bit off for that to develop any further, but we will study it very, very closely for you. Upper level low here that is stuck in neutral. It's not going anywhere. Neither are the waves that are bumping up into it, so we have seen more heavy rain in the Windward and Leeward Islands. Look at these winds that are coming across the Atlantic. We have the coast of Africa here. Those clouds are just being shot well off to the east very, very quickly, and that is preventing tropical waves from forming whatsoever. Nothing more than a cluster of thunderstorms here, and with those strong upper level winds, we are not looking for anything to develop. We are watching the convection here around what is Hurricane Lester. That is pulling away from the coast of Mexico, which is right here. We do see some heavier rain bands pushing on through and some convection here, but the bulk of the heavier rain now offshore. So we are still seeing some of the waves and also potential for heavy rain along the coast of Mexico. But again, most of the convection now pulling away.